Missouri was the first state to ban abortion following the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022, which is why Friday marked a day of celebration for abortion rights supporters who have been campaigning for months in hopes of putting abortion rights on the ballot later this year.
When abortion rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Today, we turned in boxes filled with hopes and dreams of bodily autonomy and for a better Missouri.
In just 3 months, Missourians for Constitutional Freedom gathered more than double the number of signatures needed to qualify for the ballot.
Who would have thought that we would be placed in a position for a historic time such as this? Despite every obstacle put in our way by the opposition, we made it.
In these boxes, more than 380,000 signatures hand-delivered to the Secretary of State's office Friday.
Missourians have lived in a public health crisis. They know what it is to not have access to critical care in the moment that you need it, and they're going to turn out and make sure that they restore that access.
Supporters calling this a monumental day for Missouri.
Passing this amendment will end Missouri's cruel abortion ban and put personal medical decisions back in the hands of patients, their families, and their doctors, not politicians.
But it didn't come without a court battle against Republican statewide officials.
Our campaign had to go to court not once, not twice, but 3 times before we even began collecting signatures.
GOP lawmakers are also attempting to pass legislation this year to increase the threshold of votes needed to approve a constitutional referendum.
And we want to make sure that when changes are being made, they aren't being made by hyper-partisan interest groups, whether it's on the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, that it's something that has a degree of broad consensus across the state of Missouri.
Now that signatures have been dropped off, the Secretary of State has until midsummer to verify that at least 171,000 signatures are from registered voters. If so, then it's likely voters will see this question on the ballot in November. Reporting from Missouri Capitol Bureau, I'm Emily Manley. While Missourians continue to cross state lines to place a sports bet, teams like the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs are done placing wagers on the General Assembly. Instead, they want voters to make the final call by putting the question on the 2024 ballot.
I could scream till my face is red about how it's been going.
Missouri has been playing a losing hand when it comes to sports betting.
I'm frankly a little bit relieved that we have, I think, a couple paths to get there.
St. Louis Cardinals president Bill DeWitt III says Missouri sports teams are tired of waiting on lawmakers.
All I can tell you is that the teams are lockstep and united on this IP approach, as are the mobile operators.
The St. Louis Cardinals, Blues, City SC, the Kansas City Chiefs, Royals, and Current are using the initiative petition process to ask voters if sports betting should be legal. In a statement, the Royals said, "We welcome and encourage the progress being made in Missouri and believe all of our fans should have the same opportunities as those in Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, Arkansas, and other states across the country."
Here's an industry that is growing and flourishing in most other states now, including all of our surrounding states to Missouri. Meanwhile, in Missouri, it is happening, but it's being done through illegal operators.
Earlier this year, the Missouri House passed legislation, but it hit a snag in the Senate.
If the Cardinals and Royals and others decide that they want to put that on the ballot, then the more power to them.
Other lawmakers, along with DeWitt, say it's Senator Denny Hoskins' fault that sports betting continues to strike out because Hoskins wants to regulate video lottery terminals found in gas stations and fraternal organizations.
But it runs into a brick wall in the Senate, not because we don't have the numbers in the Senate, but because the filibuster rules allow for one person to kind of block it.
I would say that, I get blamed for blocking it quite a bit, and that's not the only bill that I've ever gotten blamed for blocking.
DeWitt, along with the other teams, believe legalizing sports wagering will attract a new, younger set of fans, bringing in more revenue for the state and the organizations.
I think as a Missourian, you would want to support it so that it can be taxed, regulated, monitored, and properly accounted for rather than just who knows who's benefiting on the illegal marketplace.
Under the proposed initiative petitions that were filed with the Secretary of State's office, there would be a 10% tax on the sports betting revenue after the winnings are paid out. That money would then go to the Compulsive Gamblers Prevention Fund and Missouri schools. Reporting from Missouri Capitol Bureau in St. Louis, I'm Emily Manley. It was the headline of session, and when the legislation made it to the governor's desk, a Democratic senator asked for a few minutes of Parsons' time to ask him how he would go about signing the bills into law. The two say it's not that they agree on the topic, it's because they have respect for each other.
I wanted to talk to him about the tone, either in an official release or a press conference or off the cuff, just try to remind him as best I could that we're talking about vulnerable kids here.
It was a priority for the governor.
Everybody knew I was pretty well going to sign it, but we wasn't going to make a big presentation up here for either side.
Prohibiting doctors from performing surgeries and prescribing puberty blockers or hormone treatments to minors, and requiring transgender athletes to play on the team that aligns with the sex on their birth certificate.
This is not about adults. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem when it comes to our children, and I am going to protect our kids at all costs.
But because there was no ceremonial bill signing, the governor was called out for hiding the legislation behind closed doors.
Everybody knew what was in that bill. Everybody did. And they knew when I made it to my desk that the chances of me signing it were highly likely.
That's where Senator Greg Razor came in. The Kansas City Democrat stood for hours on the floor trying to block the legislation. He was part of a compromise allowing current patients to continue with treatment once the law goes into effect.
He reached out to me, said he wanted to come in and talk to me about this very issue because I knew he was the leader of the other side, per se, here in this building. So I wanted to hear his perspective too.
The governor has a big megaphone, and I just wanted to make sure that the message was sent in a way that wouldn't disturb these kids. And the governor agreed.
Politicians on opposite sides of an issue, taking time to be considerate of one another, no matter blue or red.
And it's okay to disagree, and it's okay to be friends with the people you disagree with, even vehemently disagree with.
There's been things that's been voted on with people I haven't agreed with. But at the end of the day, you know, my job as governor, it's the governor's office. It's not about Mike Parson, it's about the governor's office.
Under the legislation, the ban on puberty blockers and hormone treatments will expire in 4 years, but the ban on gender-affirming surgeries is permanent. The laws will go into effect at the end of August. Reporting from Missouri Capitol Bureau, I'm Emily Manley. We're about 2 weeks away from the end of the legislative session, and odds that lawmakers get a bill to the governor's desk to legalize sports betting doesn't look good. Teams like the St. Louis Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals say they're done placing wagers on the General Assembly, so they plan to put a question on the ballot later this year.
Today, we take the first monumental step into being the 39th state to have sports betting while we generate tens of millions of dollars each and every year for Missouri classrooms.
Delivering more than 340,000 signatures with the help from some friends.
Our fans get it. They see this revenue going outside of Missouri, and they ask the question, why can't we keep it in Missouri?
Inside those boxes, signed petitions to ask voters to legalize sports betting.
You know, it is a way of energizing our fan bases. It's becoming in vogue across the country, and we are missing out on it in Missouri.
The coalition is led by Missouri's 6 professional sports teams: the St. Louis Cardinals, Blues, City SC, the Kansas City Chiefs, Royals, and KC Current, who say Missouri has been playing a losing hand when it comes to sports betting.
We've learned that every year sports betting fans in Missouri place billions in offshore sites across state lines into our neighboring states.
Under the proposed initiative petitions, there would be a 10% sports betting tax rate. That money would go to the Compulsive Gamblers Prevention Fund and Missouri schools.
Once it's passed, Missourians are going to be able to place bets at and around the venues of the professional sports teams. They'll be able to do it on apps, and they'll be able to do it at Missouri casinos.
The topic has been debated multiple times by the General Assembly, but continues to fall short.
We would have preferred and strongly preferred for this to be a legislative solution and for this to get done legislatively.
Senator Denny Hoskins has been blamed previously that sports betting continues to strike out because he also wants to regulate video lottery terminals found in gas stations and fraternal and veterans organizations, but doesn't have the votes.
Most certainly it's their prerogative to put that on the ballot, and if they gather enough signatures, we'll see what Missourians say.
Now that the signatures have been dropped off, the Secretary of State's office has until July to certify that at least 171,000 of those signatures are from registered voters. If so, that's when voters could see the question on the November ballot. There's at least one other initiative petition set to be delivered to Jefferson City later this week, and that would be to overturn the state's abortion ban. Reporting from Missouri Capitol Bureau, I'm Emily Manley. When parents send their kids off to school, they want them to be safe and educated. For a student, if you don't feel safe, it can be hard to learn. With school threats happening on a regular basis, this new system is designed to help school workers think on their feet.
What people don't understand with K-12 education is every teacher in America today is the emergency manager of their classroom.
It's a situation no parent wants to think about, a threat at their child's school.
The cost of tragedy has never been higher.
And the best way to prepare is with practice and training exercises.
Drop the knife, everybody get out behind me, run behind me, quickly.
This new TI training system brings to life roughly 1,400 scenarios, from an angry student to a lunchroom fight and an active shooter.
A lot of the scenarios are really just de-escalating and having a conversation, then having conversations later and debriefing. Hey, what'd you do right? What'd you do wrong? What could you have done better?
I go through here every day, and I don't understand why I can't go through right now because you want to search my bag.
John McDonald is the Chief Operating Officer of the Missouri School Boards Association K-12 Safety Division, which oversees the Center for Education Safety. He says the simulator can be very realistic, like students screaming and the sound of gunshots. Before bringing this new system to Missouri, McDonald spent years as Director of Safety at Columbine School District in Colorado.
In my career, I've responded to 7 school shootings around the country.
One of those school shootings happened at Central Visual and Performing Arts High School in St. Louis last fall, where a gunman shot and killed a student and a teacher. Since last October, McDonald has been helping CVPA and the school district with recovery, like mental health services.
The work that St. Louis Schools has been doing is it's a heavy lift, and they're working hard to help their kids and their staff recover.
In a world where school threats are happening on a regular basis, McDonald says Missouri is at the forefront of this type of training.
And what this system does more than anything else is it helps you make good decisions.
The system cost $28,000, and the Center for Education Safety was able to buy 3 units with money allocated to them from the General Assembly. McDonald says that there's no cost to districts to use the system, and they will bring the training to you. Reporting from Missouri Capitol Bureau, I'm Emily Manley.